Alright, so I'm starting it. Alright, so you
Who
can
taught
just...
you that? It's such like and you have to look, and you have to, it's so... Hi, my name is Thomas Astarita, and I'm joined here with Mayor Christopher Vergano, and today we're going to talk about the duties, responsibilities, and what it means to be the mayor. Alright, so the first question I have is a two-part question, and it is, what are some of the things you did before you became mayor, and then when did you first know that you wanted to be the mayor?
So a long time ago, when my son was probably 2 or 3 years old, I was at a party in Packanack with my wife, and people were looking for others to run for the Board of Education.
Right.
And for some strange reason, I said, sure, I'll give it a shot.
Right.
And was elected to three-year terms on the Board of Ed, so I spent 9 years there.
Right.
It was very interesting, much different than local government being on the Board of Ed. It's much more personal, because when parents have a problem with their kids, it's a very personal thing, and they want to take care of their kids.
Right.
The issues of the township are much different. The issues of the township could be as simple as we didn't pick up your recycling.
Right.
So that's not really a personal issue where it's so simple to fix. But things at the Board of Ed require a lot more time and effort. So after spending 9 years on the Board of Ed, I had enough. And the opportunity came along to run for councilman.
Right.
And decided that we would run, and we ran in a primary back in 2001. And knocked out the 3 incumbents along with the incumbent mayor. And then about 8 years later, the former mayor, Scott Romana, decided that he was going to run for assembly due to a vacancy. And our party asked me if I was interested in becoming mayor, and that was 10 years ago.
So you appointed mayor?
Appointed to a 1-year term.
Right.
And then ran the following year for a 1-year term. And now I've run for 3 4-year terms.
Right. So what is the difference between being on the Board of Ed and then being a council member?
So the Board of Ed basically is the board of directors of the educational system. The superintendent is the person in charge. The Board of Ed members pick the superintendent, they set the budget, they set the policy for the district. They don't run the day-to-day operations of the district. They're policy makers. And sometimes it's very hard for them, including myself when I was there, to remember that you're really a policymaker and you're not running the day-to-day operations.
Right.
So board members have a tendency to try to get involved in everything, and there's a fine line before problems occur. So as a council member, you're really serving as the legislative branch of the township government, where in our form of government, which is the Faulkner type F form of government, known as strong mayor.
I did a whole video on this.
You're scaring me. Really?
Yeah.
So in our form of government, the mayor's in charge of administration. We negotiate all contracts, we sign all documents, and we present the spending plan, which is the annual budget, to the council.
Right.
So it's a much different world. So we're kind of like the executive branch.
Your first time actually running for mayor, how did you get the word out?
It was basically, I had been appointed to for a 1-year term.
Right.
But then we did a lot of door-to-door, and I was running without 3 council members, so there were a lot of doors to knock on. Obviously, I've been in town since 1962.
Right.
So there's still a lot of people here from then, and I meet people all along, with my kids going through school, with my wife being in town forever also. So you run into people, and those people tell other people, and hopefully they're telling you good things.
Right. When you had the chance to choose your council members at large, how did you know who to choose?
Well, you always want to find people with new ideas. My philosophy on government is I never tell anyone how to vote.
Right.
Certainly, do I pitch things to people? Absolutely, but that's human nature. So I always look for independent people that represent different demographics of the community and are in it for the right reasons.
Right.
Because I'm sure you've met people in politics over the years that are not in it for the right reasons.
Right.
And it's distracting at times. But I always consider, you always put the people first, put the party second, and you do what's right for the community.
So when you're preparing for the primary and general elections, what are some of the steps that you take?
Well, first you have to organize a campaign committee. Unfortunately, you have to raise money.
Right.
Because it takes money to run a campaign, and nothing is free. So when you're mailing items, that takes a lot. And Wayne's a big town, so there's like 12,000 registered Republicans in the township. I happen to be in the Republican Party. So mailing to 8,000 households costs a few dollars.
Right.
Aside from that, we did newspaper ads, we did a few telephone polls, we did big presence on Facebook for the first time this year, which I had not done before, but I'm learning.
Right, yeah.
The old guy is learning how to use Facebook and social media, and it worked.
Right.
Our Facebook presence grew tremendously.
Right. Christopher Vergano, by the way, just won the Republican primary in Wayne. How many advisors as the mayor do you have?
Aside from the township employees,
Right.
I really don't have a group of yes people telling me what to do. I don't work that way.
Right.
I make a lot of decisions on my own. I have a core group of people in the township who I rely on, and they're not yes people either. And I think that's how I've survived 10 years as mayor and hopefully another 4-year term. But I think you just constantly have to think is what's the best way for all of the citizens of the township and then proceed that way.
Right. So, as mayor, how do you plan to appoint members of the planning board?
Well, the planning board is interesting because there's no advice and consent from the council. There's certain positions that the mayor appoints, all the department heads
Right.
require advice and consent of the council. On the planning board, that's an individual choice of the mayor. So I look for people that have basically the same philosophy I do on building and development. And I've been lucky across the years. There's a lot of people here that on the planning board that have been here for a very long time, and I think they do a very good job. But we have a different mix of people. Tonight I'm appointing someone new to the planning board, actually,
really?
who was served on the Board of Adjustment for a number of years, and I have an opening.
Right.
So I reached out to him, and he agreed to come on.
That's cool.
So of course, the planning board members, the members of the Board of Adjustment, they serve at no compensation whatsoever.
Right, so
they're volunteers.
What is the best and worst thing about being the mayor?
The worst thing about being mayor is you have a lot of responsibility.
Right.
People blame you for everything that goes on in the township,
Right.
whether it's the IHOP that closed 20 years ago,
Right.
or traffic, or and we have a lot of employees here, and under our form of government, all of our employees, and we have over 400, all report to the business administrator, and the business administrator reports to the mayor. So there's some tough decisions that have to be made regarding employee discipline, which come down to the mayor's office. Those are the tough decisions. The best part, it's interacting with people. It's going to the pool and talking and high-fiving the kids who
Right.
saw me at their school. And in their minds, they think mayor is a very big thing.
It's like the president.
Yeah, they'll ask funny questions like, "Where's your security?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're out in the parking lot." Oh, good. So I enjoy it most of the time. I mean, there are times when it's tough and there's a lot of time involved, but for the most part, I enjoy being mayor. And that's why I'm running it. And I've said to people, when it's no longer fun, I'm not going to do this anymore. So far, it's a lot of work and a lot of commitment. I spend a lot of time in this room.
Right.
Give up a lot of family time to come here. But in the end, it's all worth it because we all want the town to be a great place to live and raise a family, and I think we're doing that right now.
Right. That's awesome. What is your advice to people who want to get involved in government?
It's always tough to get younger people involved in government because they become very jaded by what's going on nationally, or even locally. They see like the infighting back and forth.
Right.
And you're trying to find people that are committed, that have the time, and that's not easy either.
Right.
And then you want to make sure that the people are really just in it for the right reasons. I think we have a township council for the most part that's in it for the right reasons.
Right.
Obviously, we have some issues right now, but for the most part, people are in it for the right reasons, and those are the people you try to encourage to get into government.
Right. How do you attract businesses to Wayne? Well,
There's a number of ways. A lot of it has to do with real estate brokers and developers already know about Wayne.
Right.
Because that's their job to know about Wayne. So a lot of times they'll make appointments to come in and see me and float ideas. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them come to fruition and some don't. But I always find it's better that they come in and meet with us, and I'll even have them meet with staff ahead of time before submitting any applications to streamline the process, because going before the planning board can be a very expensive process, especially if you're bringing 5 or 6 witnesses,
right.
and it's taking multiple nights to do. So I try to meet with business developers ahead of time and see if we can assist them in the project.
Right, so you can speed up the planning board process
Absolutely.
as quickly as you can. What do you think your greatest accomplishment was as being the mayor?
That's tough. Well, one of the things that we've done is we've applied for and received $88 million in federal funding to buy out homes in the most severely impacted areas of the township.
For the floods?
For the flood area.
Right.
So we have made a difference in people's lives by giving them the opportunity to move out of the flood area where they probably would never get that opportunity before.
Right.
And there's several reasons that we want to do that. I personally don't believe the federal government or the state government is ever going to solve the flooding problem.
Right.
I just don't see that happening. So I think the best way is to take people out of harm's way. And also, when there's a flood and someone has chest pains at 3 o'clock in the morning, we're sending in ambulances and ambulance personnel in boats. We're sending our police department in boats. We're sending our firemen in boats.
Right.
It's a very dangerous situation, and we want to take our first responders out of that dangerous situation. And by buying 380 homes up, that's certainly helped that problem. Now, we haven't bought all the homes, and the program is voluntary. So we're still going to have people that are going to be severely impacted when it floods again. And it will flood again sometime. We just don't know when. Hopefully many years down the road. But I think that's the most significant accomplishment that we've had in 10 years.
Right. That's awesome. This is one of my final questions. When you first started, why did you want to become the mayor?
I don't know the answer to that question. I guess I always wanted to give back to the community.
Right.
When I was 16, I joined the first aid squad and spent 15 years there and had a very good time, met a lot of good people. I think that was my training for becoming mayor because it's a tough organization, a lot of great people, and they do a lot of good things. So I just always enjoyed community service, public service, and somehow it happened this way.
Well, congratulations.
Here I'm still here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wrapping it up, one of my final questions that Alex wanted to know, one of my best friends. What is your favorite color as the mayor?
That's a real tough one. Blue.
Blue, you think?
Yes.
Blue? He's a very boring guy.
Absolutely.
I would have went with a nice teal. I think nice teal. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
My pleasure.
Take care.